Hola, mi gente. Hello, hello, hello. Buenas noches.
Hola, mi
Good
gente.
evening.
Hello,
Here I
hello,
go with my
hello.
phone. Excuse me. Good evening. Namaste. And welcome to Moments con Margarita. Yo soy la Margarita. I am your spiritual coach, your sacred healer, your end-of-life doula. So tonight, we will speak on cultivating self-trust. Milagros, buenas noches. We're going to speak on cultivating self-trust. Self-trust, like anything, any work that we have to do on ourselves, it's not easy. It's not easy because we have to peel back all the layers of a lot of junk that we allow to pile on top of us. Good evening, Tiffany Bryant. Change my mind frame. So tonight we'll speak on cultivating self-trust. And to recap from last Tuesday, we spoke on the importance of being ridiculously curious with your you, discovering your you, whether coming into contact with her for the first time and meeting her appropriately, or remembering who she was and bringing her to the forefront of your life. Being ridiculously curious about who you are allows you to speak eloquently when asked, "Who are you?" Being ridiculously curious invokes all of that is born within you out with confidence. So learn yourself all over again, or learn yourself for the first time, because it's never too late. The best time to learn about yourself is the moment you're living in right now. So let's do that. So that was the recap of being ridiculously curious about you. We learned about self when curiosity of the we were opens closed doors. And that's what's very important. And for those, thank you for coming on. And you can share this. This is a 30-minute show. So learning about ourselves allows the cultivation of self-trust, because once you're confident in what makes you you, not what you do, not who you are, not this person's daughter, this person's wife, this person's mother, but the you that's within, the you that likes the smell of the dirt after the rain. Those who want to sit there and watch the bees pollinate from flower to flower, those little insignificant things that many of us take for we take advantage of it. We take it for granted. We don't sit still and just watch the beauty evolving in front of us. That's the you that you gotta dig out. Hello, Erica. So that's when, being ridiculously curious, you discover those insignificant qualities about yourself that really make the world go round, right? Bees are important. You are important. So we got to remember that in getting to know who we are, it allows us to build that self-trust in who we are. So when you're cultivating self-trust, just think of it as there's this huge blank canvas in front of you, and you hold all the colors and all the different size brushes. And it is you, the artist of your life, that gets a chance to build your foundation, to draw, to paint, to create the life you're at, or the life you want to have. Because that's all we have. We have today and the promise of tomorrow. There's no going back. So you have to be out with the stale and negative projections, and in with the authentic spirit of all things you. When you're curious, the curiosity that peaks within you, you learn all kinds of stuff. And this is one thing I'll probably repeat throughout this moment, is when you're in tune with your senses, then you learn. Your curiosity peaks to heights that you never thought were possible. And that's the beauty of discovering yourself. That's the beauty of being so curious that you want to down to all the nuts and bolts of you. And you know how sometimes we put things together and then we have extra screws, and really that's not how it's supposed to be, because everything that came in a package is supposed to be placed. But that's what we do with ourselves. We put ourselves together so quickly that we leave important parts of us out, as though it's not anything of importance, anything of substance. We leave it out and we put ourselves together to meet everyone else's idea or to be present for everyone else. And then we're walking half-assed, right? This hurts. That's not clicking right. This is getting stuck a bit because we didn't utilize all the tools that we have been given since birth. It is our birthright to be complete. It is our birthright to know who we are. And every step we take, we know there's a direction that it's leading us to. We might not know where's the destination, but we know we're walking this journey with purpose. So when you lose that curiosity about yourself, it's like losing the compass in a foreign country. You lost your compass. Now you don't know what's north, west, east, or south, and it all goes to shit, right? So that cultivation of self-trust begins with the curiosity of who you are, what you like, what you don't like, why you like this, why you don't like this. All of that falls into place. And then you start believing that you do matter. You start believing that you are important. You start believing that you are unique. And then your self-trust starts coming in. And when that starts building, the confidence level is at an all-time high. So how to strengthen the connection to self. I wrote a couple things down from different articles that I read. And if it resonates with you, say something. Hi, Lori. And so to strengthen the connection with self, the first one, my favorite, that I say it a lot because I have to remind myself too, especially when you're eating healthy. You got to remind yourself, I don't really need that. Oh, well, maybe one bite won't matter. Stop lying to yourself. When you stop lying to yourself, the road becomes a 2-lane as opposed to just a 1-way. So it's a 2-lane now. And then you can see everything as it's flowing in real time. So hello, Rosemary Palmer. So when you stop lying to yourself, you're going to be faced with challenges and you're going to be faced with fear and you're going to be faced with the weakness where you just want to give up, where I know who I am and keep going down your path, but you're always going to stumble. You're always going to falter. You're always going to feel less than to yourself. Not that anyone else is going to make you feel that way. You will, because there's a part of you that you haven't introduced yourself to, or there's a part of you that you are ignoring, and that knock is going to be persistent. So why not face it? It's you. Look in the mirror. It's you. So cultivating self is something that stop lying to yourself. Just be the unique you were born to be. If you're loud, so what? If you're chunky, so what? Not everybody was born to be skinny model. Okay? It doesn't matter where you are right now. What matters is that it's you. Second one, spend time with yourself. And when I say spend time with yourself, people say, oh, I do that all the time. When I'm cooking, when I'm doing laundry. That's not spending time with yourself. That's you being focused on the utensils you need, on the ingredients you need, making sure that it's done at a certain time so that you can feed fulano, fulana, and everyone else that comes along. So your mind is not on you. It's on your task. If you're doing laundry, you're worrying about sorting the colors, what temperature it's going to go in, how long the load's going to take before you put it in the dryer. It's not spending time with yourself. Spending time with yourself is just that. It's just sitting still and smiling. Just if you don't feel it in here, do it here. Smile. Because you know what? When you smile, Lori can probably help me out with this. Endorphins get released. Smiling is like laughing. That's the best medicine. And so sit with yourself. Lack of self-trust will have you feeling uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. It's for a great cause. It is for the one and only cause that you should be fighting for in your life. You. So just sit still and smile. Because even if you're reading a book, because when I read a book, I get lost in the character. So again, I'm not with me. I'm displacing myself from me, placing myself in the Josian era, in the Renaissance era, whatever it is I'm reading. It's still reading and displacing myself from self. Sometimes you just gotta sit still and look at your surroundings and look at the beauty around you. That's you sitting with yourself, because when you see a bird, you're gonna say, oh my God, look at those beautiful feathers, look at those colors. That's an ugly bird. Doesn't matter what you're saying, but you're seeing it and you're speaking it to yourself, right? And then, so what better time to spend than observing your surroundings? Third, be decisive. When you want to build self-trust, you have to trust that you are going to make the right choice. So make choices that you believe in, not what your mama told you, what your coworker told you, what you heard on the news, what you read online. Those are just opinions. Make decisions that you believe in. Feel it, think it, dance with it. Break habits of questioning every decision you make, down to what pair of panties should you wear with that dress. Just make a decision. Because it's that simple in the middle of the difficultness of making the decision. It's really simple. Pick one, A or B, A or B. Every morning we got to get up with the realization that we do have choices for our lives, and to make the choices that are going to benefit us so that we can continue on the next morning. And at the end of the day, make a checklist and say, I made wise choices today. Not that anybody's telling you. You have to believe in yourself enough to say, I'm going to shave the side of my head and I don't give a shit who likes it. The other day, Lori was putting up pictures and I'm looking at them and I said, oh, Maron, I look like a dyke, and not to offend anybody, but the way the hair was. And someone in California thought that I was. And you know what? It's still there. I'm going to grow it out, but I'm going to grow it out gray. I made a choice not giving a shit what anybody else thought, because I wanted it done. And that's how I've always lived my life. I want something, I think about it. Is it worth it? Can I do it now? Is it something I can save till later? But I still make the decision. I don't worry about who's gonna nitpick here, it's about making a choice that I am going to be happy with. Or making a choice that's gonna break my heart, but I have to make it for the betterment of me. See, that's why I said it can get tricky and it's uncomfortable, because there are choices you have to make that are going to affect those around you. And that might even make you sad, but it's a choice you had to make. Do not make a choice because you don't want to feel uncomfortable. That would never lead you to self-trusting you in your life, in your decisions. So decisions aren't always going to be happy. They're going to be sad. They're going to be heartbreaking, but they're going to lead to something better. Because of that heartbreaking choice you made today, you're paving the way for someone or even yourself tomorrow. So be uncomfortable. So set reasonable goals. Let me say that again. Set reasonable goals. Don't say, I'm going to go on a liquid diet and lose 20 pounds in a week and a half, and then be so heartbroken that it didn't happen. Or that you're going to save X amount of money in X amount of time, but you make X amount of money and then X amount goes into your bills. Make reasonable choices with your goals. So when we don't reach our big goals that we set that were not reasonable, we experience feelings of failure, which reduces our confidence and belief in ourselves. So when we set the bar so high that we're like saying, I ain't gonna do that, but okay, I'm gonna write it because maybe I can. Maybe doesn't mean no, doesn't mean yes. It just means whatever happens, happens. So when you're setting a goal, you have to say, this is what I'm going to do. Now you might not complete it in that day, So you might, instead of beating yourself up about it, how you're a failure, you're not enough, you're dumb, all of this stuff, or I'm not committed, wake up an hour earlier and get started on it. And if you didn't finish before that day's goals and duties are, then try to fit it in between. But never beat yourself up over something that you couldn't complete, especially if you started it. Now, if you never started it, then you're making unrealistic goals for yourself. So make sure that you, when you're doing the bar, raise it up, but not to where you can't reach it and you're lost, because you're only messing it up for yourself. You're only digging your hole deeper. So how can you be rising on the things you want when you're actually taking the elevator down? So challenge yourself, because at the end of the day, it's you against you. No one else. It's you against you. What could I have done differently? What should I have done differently? No, this is what I wanted to do because I made a decision that this is what I want. So I guess if I couldn't complete it today, then I got to work a little extra hard on it tomorrow in between my other tasks. So you're not delaying what you already have in place. What you're doing is you're adding it to it in the in betweens because it can be done. And the last one, which is my favorite, aside from the first one, is be kind to yourself. Are you kind enough to yourself every day? When someone steps on your brand new shoes, sneakers, or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, I'm sorry, in the store, you're like, oh, it's okay. You're cursing in your head, but it's okay. You wipe it off. But then if you do something, if you spill a sip of your coffee on it, then you're calling yourself all kinds of names, guilty. You're doing all these kind of things. So you're kind to total strangers, which is good, but first it starts home. When you can be kind to your temple, you can be kind to everyone who participates in the congregation. But be kind to yourself, because accidents happen. Clean it. Be quick to clean it. There's always a solution. For every problem, there's a solution. There's not no solution for a problem. Figure it out, but do it in kindness to yourself. Start by purging those negative thoughts and self-criticisms. Pay close attention to your inner voice whispers. Are they kind and accepting, or are they mean and critical? Who here has had any of those thoughts? Any participation? When that inner voice whispers to you at any moment of your day, let's say a oomph moment, are you kind and accepting, or is it a mean and critical whisper? I'll wait. Nobody? Nobody wants to participate? So unconditional love, amor propio, self-love, builds confidence. When we are kind to self, Lin one, very critical. But you're not alone. Yes, I'm harder on myself than I am on others. Yep. And how do we change that? It's not as difficult as it sounds. I know it's years of reprogramming, but it starts with one word. It starts with the day you decide, I'm going to be kind to myself, right? So all those years of you calling yourself a fuck up, I'm fat, nobody's going to love me enough, I am not smart enough, all those crazy things that we've all been guilty of thinking about, that's piled and piled and piled and piled, gets broken with the first step in being kind to yourself. I promise you. Start saying every day, if you just say one thing to yourself throughout that day for a week, you're breaking it, you're tearing it down. It's dissipating. All those years of negative talk starts to dissipate. It's not science. Okay, it's a spiritual passion that you need to have. You need to feel yourself with the spiritual love and passion for self. It's not something you can buy. You can go and buy all the expensive clothes you want to put on and all the makeup you want to cover up, all that ugliness you think is, all that's inside of you, because we're all beautiful in our right. So you have to start, if you start tonight, I am enough. I am kind. I'm smart. I'm important. What is that movie from The Help? I love when she's like, you is important, you is smart, you is kind. You know, that, if anything out of that movie, I learned so much by her telling that little baby that, which propelled me to start studying and researching and seeking this cultivation of self-trust, of self. So those are the things you have to remind yourself. See, this beauty that you think I'm speaking of, this is fleeting. We're gonna age. The wrinkles are gonna set in. You know, the once I had cheeks, now I have jowls, right? So this is fleeting. It's what's in here that's beautiful. It's holding the door for someone. It's saying hello and not expecting a hello back. It's holding the door open and not expecting a thank you. It's you doing what you do because you are who you are with no expectations. It's you reminding yourself you are smart, you are important, you are kind. Just repeat. If you can repeat anything, do those three tonight. I'm telling you, that movie changed my life just by listening to her tell that to that little girl. And there was a lot that went on in that movie that was very educational. But that part, it just like it resonated, so it's like it stirred my soul that I can't even put it into words right now. So unconditional love, amor propio, I love the way it sounds in Spanish. Say it with me from your home. Amor propio builds confidence. So when we are kind to self, we trust ourselves to make the right choices, and then that equals self-love. Because when we start trusting ourselves, we begin to love ourselves. When we trust ourselves, we begin to love ourselves. Because we trust the fact that we are enough, that we are important, that we are smart, that we matter. So I cannot say this enough. I'm going to write an article. Lori keeps encouraging me to write an article and to put it on LinkedIn. And my article is going to be about feed your spirit and nurture your ego. And so what is that? Feeding your spirit. Spirit is energy. It raises your awareness by living in the moment and reveling in the beauty around you. Sort of like that cliche refrain, stop and smell the roses. That's what feeding your spirit's about. It's being in tune with nature. It's I'm not even gonna quote. I'm gonna say unknown, which is another thing Lori said. If you can't really know who wrote the quote, just put unknown. Well, where they say that they say Buddha said it. They said the difference between like and love is when you see a beautiful flower on a bush, if you like it, you pluck it. And in a day or so, it's going to wilt and die. But if you love it, you're going to admire it where it's at. And you're going to leave it where it belongs. That's the difference between like and love. So when you raise your awareness by living in the moment and reveling in the beauty around you, you do stop and smell the roses. And you listen to the buzz of the bees and you watch them pollinate from flower to flower and you smell the dirt after the rain and you listen to the song of the leaves dancing on the branches and you watch the beautiful sunsets and you enjoy the beautifulness of people walking hand in hand, especially the elderly, or the laughter of a child. That's reveling in the beauty around you, not in things and places, but in people and nature. See, you can buy a beautiful person. After a while, the next one comes along, you forget about that one. You know, You can go to this museum and then you go to the next one and it's better. And everything always trumps another thing. But beauty is beauty is beauty. So start to be in that moment of admiring it, because then that gives you a sense of belonging. So, and the next one is to meditate and pray daily. Give thanks. Be grateful for your senses, that you can see, that you can smell, that you can taste, that you can hear, and that you can feel. Be grateful that that is what makes you, it makes that blood pump through your veins. It makes you joyous to be alive. So be grateful and pray. Pray every night and ask, be specific. And in the morning, take that time to meditate and sit with self and clear your mind and try and listen for the answers of the prayers you asked for. They go hand in hand. You can't say a prayer and then go about your day like nothing happens. And then what happens? Oh, I don't believe because my prayers aren't getting answered, but you had a job to do. You know, it's just like when you put out a request at work, you got to wait for the invoice, you got to wait for the response before you can move forward. In life, in spirituality, and if you believe in something bigger than you, then learn to pray and pray with specifics. And then meditate in the morning. Find that time alone to just sit and smile and clear your head. And if you hear something, or prepare yourself for when you do go out into the world that day, whether it be something on the radio, whether it be a car's license plate or a billboard, your message will appear, but you have to be aware. You have to be aware. And by being aware is having that confidence in yourself that you are seeing, you're listening, you're smelling, you're tasting, and you're feeling. That makes the world go round, and that helps you spin in it as you should. Hey, Jason, thank you for coming. And the self-nurture with self-compassion, that's feeding your spirit. So give yourself permission to be the first for you. You know, I still live the mantra of Mary Kay from when I started selling it in 1991. And her mission was God, me, and then everybody else. Because without God, I'm empty. And without me being healthy and aware and present, I can't be there for anybody. So there's, you know, that chain of command they talk about at work, the chain of command of your life regarding on your spirituality. That's how mine is. Mine is God and then me, and then I can be available for everyone else. So that's that. So give yourself permission to be the first one in your life, and be kind to yourself always. Be kind. If you ate that cookie when you know you shouldn't, okay, did it taste good? You're going to suffer the consequences of the gluten later. You're willing to deal with the consequences of it. Let it go. Start fresh tomorrow morning. Or you're going to beat yourself up, make yourself throw up, get sick, stressed out because you had a cookie and you wasn't supposed to. You ate it. Enjoy it. You enjoyed it when you chewed it, right? It gave you that orgasmic feel of, oh my God, I've been dying for this cookie all day. So why are you going to erase that by putting negative connotations to it? You know what? Okay, I ate a cookie. I'm not going to have no more. Let me have a glass of water and wash it down. And tomorrow I know better. That's how it has to be. Because when you become all bitter and angry, that stuff, it just like when you're breathing, you're poisoning everything around you and the people around you. And let's talk about ego. Ego is you know, ego gets a bad name. And it's just sad, just so much. Look at that egotistical son of a bitch, or this or that. Oh, look at this, so conceited, got a high ego. Well, ego, just like the spirit is energy. When you feed your spirit, that's energy. Ego is of self. It's a sense of you. Your ego is a sense of you. So it's neither positive nor negative, but it's essential. It's like that. You need it. Now, Ego always got its bad name because, like, it breeds off anxiety and fear. So it pushes you, and sometimes you get pushed in the wrong direction. And why is that? Lori, why do you think the ego can push us into the wrong direction? We speak about this all the time. Or anyone. Anyone? When we are not in tune with ourselves, when we don't self-trust ourselves, the ego feeds off anxiety and fear. But who's doing that to the ego? We are. So a nurtured ego has a better sense of who it actually is. A nurtured ego understands its place and maintains clear boundaries of identity and is resilient in maintaining integrity. A nurtured ego keeps things in perspective. It does not obsess, dramatize. It can process disappointments and failures without loss of self-esteem. So when you nurture your ego by feeding your spirit kindness and walking in confidence with self-trust, then the ego is it's your best friend. It's your soulmate. It's that fantastic lover you think about all day, can't wait to get home. That's what that ego is to you. So you have to nurture it. You have to feed your spirit what it needs. Walk in self-trust, and the ego is going to keep that integrity level that you are in place. So when you feed your spirit kindness, you nurture your ego, building a foundation for a productive life in harmony with your world, with a clear perspective of your you. And only you can do that. I can't do that for you. You have to do that. You have to want it. So it gives you a clear perspective of your you in this universe, of your purpose. So cultivate self-trust and be kind to yourself. And my time is just about up. So yes, Nancy, absolutely. When people have big egos, because it's like they're not controlling it. They're not believing who they are. So their ego comes out before them to hide who they are. It's like the man behind the curtain. Get the hell away from the curtain. Tear that bitch down. You have nothing to hide. Be who you are, up on the pedestal, up on the platform with kindness, and that ego is going to be there supporting you. It's like it's your hype man. When you feed your spirit all the positivities you need, you feed it kindness and love and understanding and self-trust, your ego is going to hype you. It's going to hype you up, that trusting that you know what you're doing, and it's going to encourage you to follow your dreams, reach your goals, and be the best you can possibly be. So next week on Moments con Margarita, let's start our journey on healing. Going to battle with your past pains. So I know it's cutting it short. Thank you all for coming on. This just makes me so happy that everybody came on. Jason, I love seeing you. Thank you, sister. My sister, I love you too. You're awesome. So remember, be ridiculously curious with your you. Cultivate that self-trust, and just be awesome. So when we step into the healing, which is a tricky little fucker, you're going to be able to deal with it, to handle it, to dissipate it, to rip it to shreds. And that's it. I miss you too. So remember, be kind to yourself, and may your soul sing and your spirit dance. Until next Tuesday, La Margarita, wishing you a good night and namaste.